What's going on, football fans? It's your host, Bad Takes, with Bad Takes in Football, back with another video for you. Gonna dive into the NFL free agency craze that's going on right now. But before I do that, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're building an awesome community here where we talk everything NFL football. So please, please, please hit that subscribe button. Also, make sure to like and comment on this video. Who's your team and what player are you most hoping that your team picks up this offseason? Let's dive into today's video. So there's a lot of crazy news that's going on around the NFL without a single snap played. This is one of the most exciting parts of the offseason. I'm talking about that first rush of free agency. Although free agency hasn't fully opened and none of these deals are actually official until that window opens, we have some really crazy moves that's happened recently, and I want to dive into a couple of those today just to tell you a little bit about what's going on around the NFL so that you can catch up on this when you get home from work today. So I think some of the most important and interesting, I would say, headlines coming out of the NFL, the most obvious being the fact that Max Crosby is now a Baltimore Raven. Max Crosby got traded for 2 first-round picks from the Baltimore Ravens to Las Vegas in order for him to go to Baltimore. This is a huge move for Baltimore, who, in my opinion, one of their biggest challenges and one of their biggest, I would say, weaknesses was their pass rush. Their pass rush was 29th in the NFL, and this is coming from a team that prides themselves on defense. This pass rush not only hurt those sack numbers, but this was also hurting them from a passing perspective as well. They had the number 25 passing defense in the NFL, and a lot of that had to do with the fact that these wide receivers had all the time in the world to get open. The quarterback would have way too much time in the pocket, and that was a huge weakness of this Baltimore Ravens team. So kudos to them for making a big move, a big splash in free agency, and taking probably the number 1 name off of the list. There are also some other really interesting, I would say, free agency moves that's happened recently as today. The number 1 to me is the fact that Mike Evans is now going to the 49ers. He signed a 3-year deal with the San Francisco 49ers. This is a team I did talk about in a video about the top 5 teams in the NFL that need to address the wide receiver room. The 49ers did that today by having a tentative deal in place with wide receiver Mike Evans, who to me, I felt was going to be a lifer for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I honestly think this is a really interesting and honestly odd move for the 49ers, and also Mike Evans, and that's why I wanted to talk about it. Mike Evans, who is 32 years old, is signing a 3-year, $60 million plus deal with the 49ers, which means that he would be in place with this team all the way up until basically his 36th birthday. Mike Evans has 12 seasons in the NFL, 11 of which he has gone over the 1,000-yard receiving mark. This is a historical number, and in my opinion, is probably one of the most unsung heroes when it comes to top receivers in NFL history. I think he is that type of caliber of wide receiver. I do wonder, though, if this is the right time in his career to make a move over to San Francisco, who, in my opinion, desperately need a wide receiver. With the age that he's at, the fact that he had a pretty injury-ridden last season with Tampa Bay, I do just question this decision on both sides. I would have loved to see Mike Evans stay a Tampa Bay Buccaneer and retire as a Buccaneer and go into the Hall of Fame as a Buccaneer. But here we are. He's going over to San Francisco, so he's going to the West Coast. He's going to have a pretty talented roster over there, obviously a playoff caliber team. I just wonder about the numbers, a 3-year deal over $60 million, and the fact that with his age and the injuries he's had recently, I'm very curious to see what the 49ers are going to be able to get out of this deal with Mike Evans. Another really interesting story that just came out is the fact that Tua Tagovailoa is planning on signing a 1-year deal with the Atlanta Falcons. I actually think this is a pretty good position for both teams. Tua Tagovailoa, who is still going to have to try to prove himself as a starter in the NFL after having a very large deal with the Dolphins, and they just cut ties with him. They literally cut him. They have $98 million in dead cap. because of the amount of moves this Miami Dolphins team has made. And a huge aspect of that is this Tua contract. And so the fact that they were willing to just cut ties with him shows how they think of him and the fact that they just need to move on. And the fact that the Falcons signed a 1-year deal with him says, hey, we want someone as a placeholder because we let go of Kirk Cousins. We have no idea when Michael Penix is going to come back, and when he does, what level of ability does he have after having a third ACL surgery, right? You're very unsure of that. And so this move from Tua to go to Atlanta, I think is actually a pretty good move. He has great weapons over there. And I think this is going to be a situation where, at the very minimum, you're going to expect Tua to be the starter for the first half of this season for the Atlanta Falcons. So, in my opinion, this is actually a good move. Another move I wanted to talk about today was the fact that MVP of the Super Bowl, running back for the Seattle Seahawks, Kenneth Walker, is taking his talents to Kansas City to help out this Chiefs team try to make it back to the playoffs. I talked about the Chiefs needing a running back in a video when I talked about the top 5 teams that need to address the running back room. Kansas City was actually number 1 on the list for me. I actually expected them to draft one, but this is an even better situation, getting a veteran running back who is still young, who has the experience, and in my opinion is a workhorse. I think he's going to be a great fit for this Chiefs team, and I expect him to have a major impact on the Chiefs moving forward. And I already see them as being a team that has a really good shot of making the playoffs with this addition. I know there's plenty of other factors that are involved, and I'm not going to name them as a Super Bowl favorite yet. But getting someone like Kenneth Walker is a huge move for this Chiefs team, and you have to really appreciate that. What do you think about all these moves that are happening around the NFL? Are there any other crazy news or stories that you want me to cover? Are there any other moves that I'm missing that you find interesting? One other story that I could definitely dive into is center for the Baltimore Ravens getting signed by the Las Vegas Raiders. So essentially Max Crosby coming to Baltimore, Tyler Linderbaum, center, all-pro center, moving over to Las Vegas and becoming the highest paid center in NFL history by like $9 million a year. That is an unprecedented number, and it makes sense that he didn't sign in Baltimore because I think the Raiders were just saying, hey, I don't care what it takes. We want you as our cornerstone of this offensive line, especially when they're probably going to be bringing in a rookie quarterback in first-round pick Mendoza. Again, that's it for me today. Thank you again for watching. This is Bad Takes with Bad Takes in Football, signing out.